Hello, Mod Class, and welcome to another episode of Storytime with Mrs. Edwards and the Witches. I hope you all had a lovely weekend and managed to enjoy what little sun there was. And we'll just carry on where we left off, okay? So, he'd just gone under the mattress and found something hard. Something hard inside the mattress above me. I reached up and felt it with my paw. Could it be a little bottle? It was a little bottle. I could trace the shape of it through the cloth of the mattress. And right alongside it I felt another hard lump, and another, and another. The Grand High Witch must have slit open the mattress, and I put all the bodies inside, and put all the bottles inside, and then sewn it all up again. I began tearing away frantically at the mattress cloth above my head with my teeth. My front teeth were extremely sharp, and it didn't take me long to make a small hole. I climbed into the hole and grabbed a bottle by the neck. I pushed it down through the hole in the mattress and climbed out after it. Walking backwards and dragging the bottle behind me, I managed to reach the edge of the mattress. I rolled the bottle off the bed onto the carpet. It bounced, but it didn't break. I jumped down off the bed. I examined the little bottle. It was identical to the one the Grand High Witch had had in the ballroom. There was a label on this one. Formula 86, it said. Delayed Action Mouse Maker. Then it said, this bottle contains 500 doses. Eureka! I felt tremendously pleased with myself. 3 frogs came hopping out from under the bed. They crouched on the carpet, staring at me with large black eyes. I stared back at them. Those huge eyes were the saddest things I had ever seen. It suddenly occurred to me that almost certainly, once upon a time, they had been children, those frogs, before the Grand High Witch had got hold of them. I stood there, clutching the bottle and staring at the frogs. Who are you? I asked them. At that exact moment, I heard a key turning in the lock of the door, and the door burst open, and the Grand High Witch swept into the room. The frogs jumped underneath the bed again in one quick hop. I darted after them, still clutching the bottle, and I ran back against a wall and squeezed in behind one of the bedposts. I heard feet walking on the carpet. I peeped round the bedpost. The 3 frogs were clustered together under the middle of the bed. Frogs cannot hide like mouse. They cannot run like mice either. All they can do, poor things, is to hop about rather clumsily. Suddenly, the Grand High Witch's face came into view, peering under the bed. I popped my head back behind the bedpost. So there you are, my little froggies, I heard her saying. You can stay where you are until I go to bed tonight. Then I shall throw you out of the window, and the seagulls can have you for supper. Suddenly, very loud and clear, there came the sound of my grandmother's voice through the open balcony door. Hurry up, my darling, it shouted. Do hurry up, you'd better come out quickly. Who is calling? Snapped the Grand High Witch. I peeped round the bedpost again and saw her walking across the carpet to the balcony door. Who is this on my balcony? She muttered. Who is it? Who dares to trespass on my balcony? She went through the door onto the balcony herself. What is this knitting wool hanging down here? I heard her saying. Oh, hello, came my grandmother's voice. I just dropped my knitting over the balcony by mistake. But it's all right. I've got hold of one end of it. I can pull it up by myself. Thank you all the same. I marvelled at the coolness of her voice. Who were you talking to just now? Snapped the Grand High Witch. Who were you telling to hurry up and come out quickly? I was talking to my little grandson, I heard my grandmother saying. He's been in the bathroom for hours and it's time he came out. He sits in there reading books and he forgets completely where he is. Do you have any children, my dear? I do not, shouted the Grand High Witch, and she came quickly back into the bedroom, slamming the balcony door behind her. I was cooked. My escape route was closed. I was shut up in the room with the Grand High Witch and 3 terrified frogs. I was just as terrified as the frogs. I was quite sure that if I was spotted, I would be caught and thrown out over the balcony for the seagulls. There came a knock on the bedroom door. What is it this time? Shouted the Grand High Witch. It is the Ancient One. It is we, Ancient Ones, said a meek voice from behind the door. It is 6 o'clock and we have come to collect the bottles that you promised us, oh grandness. I saw her crossing the carpet towards the door. The door was opened and then I saw a whole lot of feet and shoes beginning to enter the room. They were coming in slowly and hesitantly, as though the owners of those shoes were frightened of entering. Come in, snapped the Grand High Witch. Do not stand out there dithering in the corridor. I don't have all night. I saw my chance. I jumped out from behind the bedpost and ran like lightning towards the open door. I jumped over several pairs of shoes on the way, and in 3 seconds I was out in the corridor, still clutching the precious bottle to my chest. No one had seen me. There were no shouts of, "Mouse, mouse!" All I could hear were the voices of the ancient witches burbling their silly sentences about how kind your grandness is and all the rest of it. I went scampering down the corridor to the stairs and up one flight. I went to the 5th floor and then along the corridor again until I came to the door of my own bedroom. Thank goodness there was no one in sight. Using the bottom of the little bottle, I began tapping on the door. Tap, tap, tap. I went tap, 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 tap. Would my grandmother hear me? I thought that she must. The bottle made quite a loud tap each time it struck. Tap, 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 tap. Just so long as nobody came along the corridor. But the door didn't open. I decided to take a risk. "Grandmama!" I shouted as loud as I possibly could. "Grandmama, let me in! It's me!" I heard her feet coming across the carpet and the door opened. I went in like an arrow. "I've done it!" I cried, jumping up and down. "I've got it, Grandma! Look, here it is! I've got the whole bottle of it!" She closed the door. She bent down and picked me up and hugged me. "Oh, my darling!" she cried. "Thank heavens you're safe! She took the little bottle from me and read the label." She took the little bottle from me and read the label aloud. "Formula 86 Delayed Action Mouse Maker," she read. "This bottle contains 500 doses, you brilliant darling boy. You're a wonder, you're a marvel. How on earth did you get out of her room?" "I nipped out when the ancient witches were coming in," I told her. "It was all a bit hairy, Grandmama. I wouldn't want to do it again." "I saw her too," my grandmother said. "I know you did, Grandmama. I heard you talking to each other. Didn't you think she was absolutely foul?" "She's a murderer," my grandmother said. "She's the most evil woman in the entire world." "Did you see her mask?" I asked. "It's amazing," my grandmother said. "It looks just like the real face, even though it was a mask. I still couldn't tell. Oh, my darling," she cried again, giving me a hug. "I thought I'd never see you again. I'm so happy you got away." Another chapter. Mr. and Mrs. Jenkins meet Bruno. My grandmother carried me back into her own bedroom and put me on the table. She set the precious bottle down beside me. "What time are those witches having supper in the dining room?" she asked. 8 o'clock, I said. She looked at her watch. "It's now 6:10, she said. "We've got until 8 o'clock to work out our next move." Suddenly, her eye fell upon Bruno. He was still in the banana bowl on the table. He had eaten 3 bananas and was now attacking a 4th. He had become immensely fat. There you go. Really fat mouse, Bruno. "That's quite enough," my grandmother said, lifting him out of the bowl and putting him on the tabletop. "I think it's time we return this little fellow to the bosom of his family. Don't you agree, Bruno?" Bruno scowled at her. I had never seen a mouse scowl before, but he managed it. "My parents let me eat as much as I want," he said. "I'd rather be with them than you." "Of course you would," my grandmother said. "Do you know where your parents might be at this moment?" "They were in the lounge not long ago," I said. "I saw them sitting there as we dashed through on our way up here." "Right," my grandmother said. "Let's go and see if they're still there. Do you want to come along?" she added, looking at me. "Yes, please," I said. "I shall put you both in my handbag," she said. "Keep quiet and stay out of sight. If you must peep out now and again, don't show more than your nose." Her handbag was a large, bulky, black leather affair with a tortoise-shell clasp. She picked up Bruno and me and popped us into it. "I shall leave the clasp undone," she said. Be sure to keep out of sight." I had no intention of keeping out of sight. I wanted to see everything. I seated myself in a little side pocket inside the bag near the clasp, and from there I was able to poke my head out whenever I wanted to. "Hey!" Bruno called out. "Give me the rest of that banana I was eating." "Oh, all right," my grandmother said. "Anything to keep you quiet." She dropped the half-eaten banana into the bag, then slung the bag over her arm and marched out of the room and went thumping along the corridor with her walking stick. We went down in the lift to the ground floor and made our way through the reading room to the lounge. And there, sure enough, sat Mr. and Mrs. Jenkins in a couple of armchairs with a low round glass-covered table between them. There were several other groups in there as well, but the Jenkinses were the only couple sitting alone. Mr. Jenkins was reading a newspaper. Mrs. Jenkins was knitting something large and mustard-coloured. Only my nose and eyes were above the clasp of my grandmother's handbag, but I had a super view. I could see everything. I'm going to have to stop there for today. Have a bookmark. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you tomorrow for another episode of Storytime with Mrs. Edwards and the Witches. Bye-bye!